that people who cannot make it to our session today can certainly be part of our session. And now, where did my Zoom picture go? There you all are. Okay. And let me do a screen share so that you can take a look at what we're studying today. Watch and learn. Now let me make you all a little bit bigger so I can see you all. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Thank you, Eileen. All right, everybody. Once again, welcome. Let's begin with our blessing for studying Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
Torah. Amen.
I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second, and I want to ask you, when you say a blessing, like you just did, what goes on? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Other than the fact that, yes, because the rabbi says, let's say a blessing, and you're doing it, which I understand. What's really going on? What are you feeling? What's the act of saying that blessing all about? Stan, please.
Well, to me, I'm acknowledging the Jewish heritage that I have, the religion, the culture, the traditions that go with it, and it brings all that to mind. But while I'm speaking, I send an email right before the class, maybe 10 or 15 minutes before, of my Simchat Torah poem that's in the email. So just to let you know.
Thank you. That was
I appreciate this class.
That's very nice. Beautiful. I can't wait to go to my email and read the poem. And thank you. So for Stan, saying a blessing connects him to his Jewish heritage. Anita, I saw you and then Jackie afterwards.
It's appreciation for whatever it is that we're saying the blessing on. I mean, whether it's a motzi and you're appreciating that you have bread, or that you can study Torah.
Good. Okay.
So it's appreciation.
Beautiful. I love that. Saying a blessing takes a moment to acknowledge and appreciate whatever it is that we are engaging in that moment. Jackie.
Hi. To me, it's to ground myself in that moment, to bring myself into whatever it is I'm doing right then. So when we're saying it for the Torah study, it's to say, okay, I've been moving around doing all this stuff, and now I'm here. This is where I am, and asking for a blessing. So not only to connect to all of you, but also to connect to God in that way as we study the Torah.
Great. Like a mindful moment. So we have 3 beautiful answers. First, connects us to our Jewish heritage. Second, a moment of appreciation for what we have in life. And third, a mindful moment. Lauren.
So I would say, before I started taking many of these classes, it was rote. I didn't understand the meaning behind any of the blessings. It was like saying the Pledge of Allegiance. You just do it automatically. I pledge allegiance. And I was just saying the words. I really didn't understand the words because I don't understand Hebrew. And now there's some meaning behind what I'm saying. And I take the time to understand what it is I'm praying about, which before I didn't understand what I was praying about. I just was going along with the crowd, you know. And
great. So for Lauren, saying a blessing adds a deeper sense of significance and meaning to whatever it is that we are doing when we're doing it, particularly when it's Jewish. All right, I love all of those. Yeah, Judy.
I think it's a way of connecting with God.
Ah, okay. I was wondering if any of you were going to actually bring God in. So Judy does that for us and says to say a blessing is to move myself out of me and into the realm of the divine. Judy, what do you mean when you say thinking about God?
Whatever God is,
Whatever God is, no definition of God.
I'm acknowledging that here I am and I'm thinking of you. Or I don't know how to say it, but
Okay. Do any others think about the divine when you're in the midst of saying a blessing? Does God come into your consciousness at all? I see a number of shakes of the head. Blessings can do all those things that everybody said, and it can also connect us to the divine. In fact, there's a passage in the Talmud that says that saying a blessing is acknowledging the gift that we receive from God the moment that we engage. Similar to what Anita said, right? Appreciation. That when we say a blessing before we partake of something, we're acknowledging the fact that this came from a source beyond us. And that source could be God or the divine. Stan.
My understanding of the translation is that we are commanded to engage in the study of Torah. It's not just a matter of reading it. It's not just a matter of, being there, but it's a matter of an active course.
Good. So
That's what the blessing.
Thanks, Stan. The actual blessing, la'asok b'divrei Torah, means to busy ourselves, to be engaged with, to actually do the learning. Great. George.
Yeah, well, you also do it if somebody dies. I mean, say Baruch Dayan Hayamet. It's for everything, not just the fun stuff, not just the good stuff. You acknowledge that, that's part of it.
Okay, so George is reminding us that blessings can be said to acknowledge moments of appreciation, and we can also attribute all things, both good and bad, to the divine and to God. And that's why in Jewish life, there's also blessings to acknowledge moments of loss, sadness, and things like that.
But you're also appreciating the person that you are now losing, but you are appreciating his life or her life.
For sure. Even in this saying that bracha, you acknowledge, right, the gift that was, even though that gift is no longer. Great. Okay, with that introduction, the Torah portion that we're going to be looking at today begins, and it's read on Saturday evening of Simchat Torah and Sunday morning of Simchat Torah as well. It's not read on its own on a Shabbat morning, interestingly. It's never read, the last Torah portion of the Torah, on its own. It's always read as part of Simchat Torah, where we read the end, and then we immediately jump into Breshit, and we read the beginning again. So this last Torah portion is called Vizot HaBracha. And what does Vizot HaBracha literally mean? And this is the blessing, because those are the first two words of this Torah portion. And the Torah portion is about Moses's last blessings that he gives to the children of Israel before he dies. So let's take a look at the very first line. Now I'm going to go back and share my screen again, and some commentary on it. Okay. So it begins. Can everybody see it? V'zot habracha asher beirach Moshe ish Elohim et bnei Yisrael lifnei moto. This is the blessing that Moshe, a man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death. We've already answered the question, what is a blessing? Next question. What do you feel when you give a blessing to someone And what do you expect to feel when you receive a blessing? So how many of you have ever given a blessing to somebody else? Okay. What do you feel when you do that? What's the act of blessing another person? Why do you do it? And what do you hope is an outcome of that blessing? Anita.
Appreciation and love.
From who? Showing
My
your
appreciation and love to my son, who I am blessing,
very
or my
nice.
granddaughter.
Very nice. So when we bless another, what we're trying to express is our appreciation and love of those others that we are blessing. Absolutely. Other thoughts? Stan.
I believe it's God's blessing through me. Everything is through me. So this.
So you're a conduit. When you offer a blessing to somebody else, what you're saying is you are a conduit of God's blessings through you. You're not actually doing the blessing yourself. Interesting. That's the idea of the priestly blessing. The priestly blessings are such that the priests are acting as conduits for God's blessings. They're not actually doing the blessing. You know what I'm talking about? When the priest stands up and, you know, has the talit over his head and duchens. Lauren.
So when, you know, you bless your children or your grandchildren, it's, to me, it's like their protection for their health, their protection for their future. It's also a connection to past. So when I bless them, it's like, I don't know, it's like keeping the evil eye off of them. So that's why I bless them.
Great. Okay. Offering a sense of protection and connecting to the past. Judy, and then I'm sorry, I don't know your first name with the Orioles. The Indians have.
Indians.
Indians.
It's
Bruce.
Yes.
Bruce, thank you. So Bruce, you'll go after Judy.
Okay.
I feel like when I do it with my kids and my grandkids, especially the ones whose father is not Jewish, that I'm kind of enwrapping them in the Jewish religion. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, Bruce.
What I was going to say is when you do a yurt site, you're remembering that person that you're saying the Kaddish for.
For sure. So so often blessings not only connect us to the individual in the moment, but can actually bring memories with along in that journey and hold on to people who are no longer here. Really nice. Marilyn.
Can you hear me? Yeah. I'm gonna take it from a Musar point of view. A blessing is when you're in service to someone else, your significant other. And that's reflects Torah.
Nice. So to bless another person is to serve that human being. Great. What about when you receive a blessing? What do you feel when you have received a blessing from somebody else?
Me?
Any of you? Any of you? Have you ever, can you think of a moment where you received a blessing from another human being? Lauren?
Yeah, I was facing a medical issue, and the rabbi at the time took me up to the bima, stood me in front of the Torah, did a blessing for my health and a positive outcome. And it was just like a feeling, it was like a feeling of awe. I didn't even know what to say. It was like an out of body experience. Like he was blessing me, but I felt like he was blessing like everybody around me that wasn't there. That's how I felt.
Thank you.
And it actually, everything came out fine. So
a sense of awe,
yeah,
and a connection to something larger than yourself in the moment. Okay. Anybody else have yeah, Judy? Or no, Gil. Wait, Gil, you're muted. You're muted.
The most profound blessing that I received was my father passed when I was in Chicago. And I was at a meeting working for Anthem Blue Cross. Judy had to take care of everything. And one of the women there, who is not Jewish, had heard about it and said, "Can I say a prayer with you?" And she put her hands on, I don't remember exactly, but she said, God, let us pray for our soul, Gil, who has just lost. And she went on for a minute, and it was amazing. I think it's something from another tradition that we do differently, but it was a very powerful moment. And this was like 15 years ago, and it's still stuck in my mind when you asked for this example.
So Gil, can I ask you what was it about her holding you in that moment? What did you feel you received from her when she offered you that blessing?
Okay, so it was what was said, and she was asking God to bless me.
So she wasn't blessing you. She was a conduit, like Stan said, for God's blessings to you.
Yes, and just the actual request that she was making on my behalf to God, for peace, for completion, for my I don't remember the exact words, but I just remember, wow, this is something that is very unusual probably for a Jewish person to experience.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but did you feel you received a gift from her in that moment?
Yes, it was very comforting, because here I am in Chicago, and Judy's having to handle all this, and just from a phone call and everything.
So, yeah, Judy.
I just feel like it's a human connection, and with God, with love, with whatever. And
So
that's
I want to hold all your comments, and I want to hold those last two comments, because I do believe that when we offer a blessing and when we receive a blessing, and Jackie, you know what? Before I jump into what I'm about to say, Jackie, go ahead. I don't want to, please share.
Thanks so much. So I'm a Reiki practitioner, in addition to being an integrative yoga therapist. And when
I could use you today, let me tell you.
So when I am practicing Reiki on a client, the mechanism for that is to become a conduit. And how we become conduits as Reiki practitioners is we're saying, it's not so much a mantra, but a prayer. May you be at peace. May you be content. May you be appreciative. May you be honorable. And may you show compassion to all beings, especially yourself. And so we're saying that over and over in a different language. We're saying it over and over and over. And that energy, that divine energy, it's not coming from us. There are some healing modalities where it's a person giving their energy out. It's literally just coming through. We become that conduit. And so as a practitioner of that, it's this immense sense of peace, relaxation, warmth that just flows through and out of my hands. Hands become really hot. For me, as someone who receives it from other people, again, it's that sense of just relaxation and peace and just being enveloped in this sense of divine. And that's what I feel like when I receive a blessing from, for example, in the mikveh, for example, that kind of thing. It's this.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you. I love that. That notion that this conduit of energy that heals another human being. And that's like really a beautiful thing. And I believe unintentionally, we do not hold on to the power and significance of what it means to receive a blessing from another, and therefore then to give a blessing to another person. And it should never be a rote experience, right? In giving that blessing or in receiving that blessing, we are gaining a gift. We are gaining the positive energy of the universe, of God, of godliness, of the divine energy into our lives. And we are giving that to somebody else, letting them know they matter, they count, they're important, we see them. Thus the blessing.
Exactly. And for my sessions, usually last about 2 hours. We talk for a bit and then, find out what's going on with them. And then the actual Reiki practice, the session. And I'll have clients say afterwards, oh my gosh, I feel so good, da, 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 da. And then I'm like, aren't you exhausted? I'm like, no, I feel great. Because it is that conduit. It's that all my stuff has to be cleared out too at the same time. It's because it is coming through and going out. It cleans the pipes, as one of my instructors said. It cleans the pipes so that then, like when you turn on a faucet or a hose that hasn't been used in a while, all of that dirt stuff goes, and then the clean water comes through. So that's kind of what happens. It's that ultimate connection to all that is God and everything else, all of us.
Great image. Thank you. I love that. Stan.
I interpret it every time we say the Mishabera, whether it's in a service or personally or whatever, that's the blessing that is coming both from me and to me.
Exactly. Well, that's the whole idea. When we say a Mishabach prayer of healing for somebody who we know who is ill, what we're hopefully doing is we are capturing some of that energy in the universe, that divine energy, and sending it with our thoughts in that moment to that person who needs healing, giving that individual the gift of our concern, our compassion, our love, our harmony, our energy for that individual. Judy?
Well, I think I have to be a little more open with that because like when Gil's father passed, his wife, which she was Presbyterian, it wasn't Gil's mother. She called in a priest to say a blessing over him. And I was pretty resentful about it because I thought it was disrespectful. She knew we were Jewish, that he's Jewish, that he was talking about Jesus Christ and all of that. And I did not take it well.
Well, I do think there's a way in which, had the priest perhaps known that Gil's father wasn't Jewish, could have blessed that moment and Gil's father without necessarily bringing in a certain theology. Because I think at the end of the day, a blessing doesn't have to specify. A blessing can simply be one of care, compassion, concern, energy, and harmony for the individual.
Yeah. And the person who blessed me was very devoutly Christian, but did not bring in anything that was
And she probably
denominational.
didn't even know.
What?
She probably didn't even know you were Jewish.
Oh yeah, she knew I was Jewish.
Oh.
George.
Yeah, years ago, Rabbi Shochet at SHU, that's how long ago it was. We had a guest speaker a lady who had rescued 18 Jews in Poland. One of the, risked her life and, all the above, just a great person. She gives a speech and she asked for a blessing from the rabbi, like she's going to get, and she had a look of satisfaction. And he's going, like, what do you do? somebody asked for a blessing, okay.
But again, I think
Yeah.
in this Torah portion, we learned that the blessing doesn't necessarily come from God, it comes from us.
Okay.
And the way that Stan and Jackie expressed the sense that we're channeling, even Gil, when Gil was saying that he got that blessing from that woman, it wasn't so much that it was she who was blessing, it was that she was channeling God's energy towards him in his loss.
Well, she may have also thought the rabbi, could bring, something.
Maybe,
down.
but again, we don't have that kind of power, I don't think, for
Well,
rabbis.
she's Catholic, so maybe, she's, is probably used to what goes, in that religion.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, so many comments, and I want to jump into the text a little bit. So let's do Jackie, Judy, and Lauren quickly, and then we'll continue with trying to understand Moshe's blessing here. Jackie, you first, and then Judy, and then Lauren.
So just to add to what has been said, my niece got married a couple weeks ago, beginning of October.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. And she had the wedding at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco. She and her now husband are Catholic, but it was an Episcopalian church, and it was very interesting. We had 2 female pastors that were officiating. And I was at the rehearsal, and the rehearsal was really interesting because we went through and had all different kinds of conversations about what was happening and why they were doing it. And the pastor who was officiating said, and we'll have communion, but everyone is welcome at the Lord's table, as she put it. And if you would like to receive a blessing instead of receiving communion, you come up and you cross your hands. And she said, I'm not saying it right, my Hebrew's awful, Kohanim,
the priest, yeah.
Which was just beautiful. So it was a way for everybody to be able to participate,
That's
regardless
nice.
of their belief systems.
That's really nice. That's very sensitive.
Really lovely. Yeah.
Very sensitive. Judy.
That's okay.
Okay. Lauren.
Yeah, Gil reminded me of, it was different when we had just arrived in Israel and we got word that my mother-in-law had passed away. So, we had just arrived there and we were walking through Yad Hashem, and who did we run into but Rabbi Vogel? And speaking of needing a blessing at the right time, at the right place, and he had heard that Mark's mother had passed away, through the Jewish grapevine, and he took us and he offered blessing, and he offered blessing for my mother-in-law, and it just was like it could call it divine intervention. I don't know. It was like we were walking down this aisle, and he was down this aisle, and there he was. I didn't even know he was in Israel at the time, but someone knew that's exactly what we needed at the right time. Did God know? I don't know. But, he did the memorial prayer for her, and it was like,
wow, what a gift that he happened to be there, or not a gift. It was meant to be. And again, in that moment, that blessing maybe gave you a sense of a deeper sense of belonging, that you're not alone.
Yeah, because he was on tour with the group from Aliyah.
Yeah, but you're connected to community, not dealing with this loss by yourself. Let's take a look at the commentary on this passage, the Psikta de Rav Kahana, who says, V'zot habracha, and this blessing that Moshe gives, al tikri habracha ela habrecha. Don't read the word that this is the blessing that Moses gave, but rather this is the pool of water, brecha. Just as a pool purifies the impure, so too Moshe drew close those who are distant. So this is a very interesting idea. As we all know, when you open up the Torah and you look at the Hebrew words, what's missing in the Torah scroll?
Vowels.
Vowels, exactly. There's no vowels. So therefore, certain Hebrew words, many Hebrew words, can be read in many different ways. In the same way that if I said to you, if I gave you the letters BK, you can say BK stands for book or bike or bake, right? It could be any number of things when you put the vowels into those letters. So the Hebrew letters bracha, vocalized differently, can make an entirely different word, brecha, which is a pool of water. Why does the Pesikta Rav Kahana do this? Because he wants to give us a sense of what is the nature of the blessing that Moses gave to the people of Israel. And what's the nature of blessings that we can give to people? When we bless somebody, what does that mean? What are we doing? So in this instance, he says, as a pure pool purifies the impure, Moses drew close those who are distant. What do you think that means? It's a little bit, complicated, but what's going on here? What do you think? What is Moshe doing in his act of blessing when it says he drew close those who are distant? And think particularly, right, about the example that Lauren just gave. Drew close those who are distant. What was Moshe's blessing here? Judy? Make sure, Judy, you have to unmute.
I think he was including everyone in his blessing.
Okay, so if you remember when Jacob blessed each of the tribes before Jacob died, or Jacob blessed each of his sons, and you look at those blessings, you could actually argue that some of those blessings were curses, that the things that he had to say about his sons were not always nice. Moshe, on the other hand, ensures that every single tribe, that every person he blesses is included, is made to feel significant and important, right? The blessing starts with Reuven, and we know that Reuven did some dastardly things to Jacob, and yet Moshe in his blessing actually forgives Reuven, the tribe of Reuven, for those acts. So Judy, I think you're absolutely right. He's saying to the children of Israel, regardless of what you may have done in the past or what your ancestors did, you're part of our community. You're forgiven. You're brought close. Great. George.
Well, he didn't mention Simon.
Okay.
Possibly because of the was it Balpor, that type of thing. So there's one he didn't mention, but what struck me here, and I'll agree on part and disagree with others, is that each one is different. I understand that with individuals, we all have different qualities, but a whole tribe is one thing, and another tribe is another thing. This blessing, he doesn't say, okay, I want everybody to have good health, long life, and it's specific to that tribe.
When our kids were little,
Yeah.
every Friday night, we would bless them,
Yeah.
my wife Carolyn and I,
Yeah.
each one individually.
Yeah.
And then we would whisper something in their ear that was a private blessing just for them.
Okay.
Some moment, going back to what Anita said earlier, something that we appreciated in them, something that elevated them, something that we saw that we wanted to acknowledge from the last week. And so what you're suggesting, George, which I think is really important, a blessing should offer something specific.
Yeah.
And we don't bless generally,
Yeah.
but we bless specifically. We acknowledge the individual and give them what we hope they need in that moment of that blessing. And that's what Moses does. Moshe gives to each different tribe the blessing that he believes is appropriate for that tribe. Nice. Marilyn.
I have a question, and I don't know if it's relevant or not. Is the pool of water stagnant, or was it moving?
What's the difference for you?
Well, if it's moving, I mean, it's gonna, if the metaphor between the blessing and the water, if it's moving, that it's going to reach somebody,
Mm,
you know,
Mm.
that
Oh.
that your blessing moves to reach another person or group, and if the water is not stagnant, it's moving, it's going to do the same thing.
So in other words, there's something aspirational about the blessing if it's moving water. I'm not sure. I think it's not moving because it's used, the expression is a pool of water, but there is something else that I think we can use as the metaphor that has nothing to do with whether the water is moving or not. But the key word here is purification, right? Just as a pool purifies the impure, we're thinking what kind of pool of water does that?
Mikveh.
A mikvah, exactly, a mikvah. And the word mikvah comes from two different things. There's gathering water. That's one of the sources of the word mikvah, to gather, to pull together water. And the other is from tikva, hope, that the blessing offers something better in the future, potentiality, aspirational. So what is Moshe doing here if when Moshe is purifying? What's the notion of this blessing that Moses is offering in the sense of purification? What do you think? Well, okay, so let's do this. Let's see, what does Rabbi Eli Konfner suggest? When asked what it means to say, blessed are you, Adonai, right? Baruch atah Adonai. The Rashba, Rabbi Shlomo ibn Dret, who's the 13th century, answers that we are describing God as having the quality of Baruch, and connects this description to the word brecha, a pool of water. Drawing on the midrashic image, the Rashba indicates that God is the source of blessing, and the experience of being blessed by God is akin to cleansing in a pool of water. This image surely has an element from the laws of purity. A pool of water can render someone who is unclean clean, but the image also suggests a form of renewal and rejuvenation. I imagine refreshing water washing over me and emerging anew. So let's think about that for a minute. When you receive a blessing, can you see that blessing that you are receiving as something that is refreshing water washing over you and helping you to emerge new? Or on the flip side, when you offer a blessing, like when you say a Misha Berach prayer of healing for somebody who is sick, imagine in your mind that the blessing that you're offering is sending out refreshing renewal waters to that individual. Similarly to what Jackie was saying when she does Reiki and, sends the energy through her body and through her hands into the individual. Your blessing is actually empowering. Your blessing has the capability of changing the individual that you're saying that blessing for. Think about what that would mean next time you offer a blessing to somebody, or next time you receive a blessing from somebody. These are not just words. These words have the power to transform you who receives it, or you, the giver of the person who receives it. Stan.
I look at it not only this way, but somewhat differently, especially the Misha B'Yar prayer. And we sing it with Debbie Friedman's tune. Debbie Friedman life was a blessing to all of us in many, many ways. And I think you can connect most prayers to people. And it's through these people that did what they did for us that we're here today, that we have this world that that we're blessed with. So to me, I try to connect it to people like Debbie Friedman.
Nice. That's a very helpful way to frame saying a blessing or receiving a blessing. Judy?
Well, I think I'm kind of reacting to just going to Mount Sinai today, but with the cleansing and stuff, when they wash the body, is that to prepare them for a renewal to go to the next world?
So Judy is referencing a tradition that in Judaism that says in preparing the deceased for the actual burial, before the deceased is placed into his or her coffin, into the aron, the body is ritually washed and then dressed in certain garments called tachrichim. And the way the washing works is there are prayers that are recited first, asking for forgiveness to the person in case any harm may befall in the process of washing. And it's not the intention of the individuals doing the ritual washing to cause any harm, but there's a forgiveness moment. Then there are prayers that speak about the aspect of ritual washing and purity of water. And then there is an initial washing which cleans the body, and then a flowing of water in a second ritual washing where the water hits all aspects of the body at once that continues to flow. The idea being, just as Judy's suggesting, that these people who are doing this act are preparing this corpse to enter into the realm of meeting his or her maker and cleansing the individual before he or she meets God in that moment, and then dressing him or her appropriately in order to meet God. So in many ways, I think, Judy, a blessing can function in the same way, that for somebody who's living, we can say that we want to spread over you renewal and rejuvenation through these words. And that while we don't have you dipping in water or dropping water all over you, these words that we are giving to you function in the same way, that you should feel refreshed and renewed as if you drank water or came out of a refreshing bath or shower. And that's the imagery of the blessing. In addition, Rabbeinu Bachia ben Asher adds that God is a source of wisdom and blessing that will never, ever cease. Water, the amount of water that exists in the world today is the same amount of water that existed in the world millions of years ago, in different forms, in different areas, but it's the same water. Water is never ending. It doesn't cease, nor does God's blessings to us. And when we offer a blessing to somebody else, nor should those blessings ever cease for the person. So Rabbi Conford continues, a pool of water draws from another deeper source of water. This is the experience of a blessing. Whatever rejuvenation we might experience can be traced back to the ultimate source of cleansing, God. The source of water never dries up. So he's suggesting something very fascinating. When we offer a blessing to another human being, we are offering the blessing, but the blessing that we're offering actually has as its source something beyond us, and that is God. Like, let's say that, going back to the example that Gil gave in the very beginning, when his father died, he was all alone. A woman hears about that and offers a blessing. And in that blessing, she says, Gil, right? May you have the strength and energy and courage and resilience to overcome your loss and hold deep in your heart the beautiful memories that you have of your father. And may those memories provide you strength in the days and weeks ahead. According to this reading, what she's doing in that moment is connecting all of the energy and all of the wisdom and all of the source of blessing that exists in the universe to God. She's not just saying this, but she's saying the energy that you, Gil, will have to move forward should come from the divine. What do you think about this notion? What do you think about this image? And how does this definition of God or God's blessings help frame for you maybe a role that God might play in your lives? Because for many of us, we have a hard time conceptualizing, how does God play a role in our life? Where is God? And in this definition, or this explanation, where is God in our life? Where do we encounter? Where do we experience the moment of divine, according to this teaching? Marilyn?
When somebody gives you a blessing,
Exactly.
human connection.
Exactly.
Because-
God is in the act of another person giving you a blessing.
Mhm.
God isn't some transcendent being in this world. God's immanence appears very close in the hands, in the mouth, in the attention that another human being gives to somebody who needs that blessing.
Right. Even if, like, taking the Misha Berach prayer, for instance, even if, God forbid, the person doesn't get better, it's still the connection, the human connection between two people. And that's where God is, the humanity. So
Exactly. That's what Martin Buber said specifically. Martin Buber, the existentialist philosopher, says God exists in a moment of connection, deep connection between two human beings. That's when we feel the divine presence. So anytime you offer a blessing to another human being, can you imagine yourself as a living expression of divinity in that moment? Right? You giving a blessing. Right? The power that you have, it's not just words that you're reciting. It's that you are actually channeling all of this divine source of power and of life in the world to that specific individual. Right? Yeah, Judy. Wait, unmute.
Have you heard that people say that when someone sneezes and they say bless you, that it's because for a moment you're not breathing and it's like you're dead? Have you heard that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm glad you gave that example, because we say, God bless you, without even thinking when somebody sneezes, right? Don't we? We always say, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. What are we doing there?
being
Right?
polite.
But hopefully we're now going to think that it's more than just being polite. because that's what this teaching is offering. In that moment where there's a moment that, you potentially die, even though scientifically we know that's not the case, but let's just assume that that's where it comes from, right? Your heart stops, your soul leaves you, whatever it is that originally created this notion that when you sneeze, some aspect of your soul is leaving you, and therefore God bless you is a way of re-energizing your life. Maybe it's not so much that we really believe the soul is leaving, but maybe it's that it just gives us an opportunity to provide that source of goodness to another human being in that moment. And that in of itself is a beautiful thing.
It's being present too in that moment.
It's being what?
Present in that moment.
Yeah.
Aware.
I really believe that we offer blessings all the time, but we don't necessarily think about the power and the significance of those blessings that we are offering. And we receive blessings from people all the time, but we don't really think about the significance of what's happening, and that person is actually acting as a conduit for God in that moment. Stan?
Well, when we are told to make our lives a blessing, that's what living is. We're interacting with other people. How we help them or how we interact is the blessing of our life. And that's to make your life a blessing.
Beautifully summed up. Thank you, Stan. When Moses offers the blessing to the children of Israel, there's a midrash that says this is not the only time that he did this, that there were other times that he offered blessings. At the beginning of Moses's life with Bitya, daughter of Pharaoh, and here at the end of his life with Reuven, may Reuven live and not die. What do you think this means? When at the beginning of Moses's life with Bitya, who was Bitya? Who was the daughter of Pharaoh? Do you remember the story?
It's bitch. I thought she was his sister.
So Miriam, the sister, was on the side of the Nile River watching over. And then it was the daughter of Pharaoh that came into the Nile and picked up Moses and saved his life.
Right.
So from that pool of water, from the Nile, Moses's life begins in blessing. And why is that? Because Pharaoh's daughter knew what Pharaoh had commanded. All Israelite baby males need to die. She sees this Israelite male baby. She knows that he's an Israelite male baby because, as Eileen just reminded us, Miriam is right there to make the connection, and yet she does not kill him. Through the blessing of life, right, she saves Moshe. And here at the end of Moses's life, when he begins the blessing, may Reuven live and not die. Reuven was cursed by his father, Jacob. And Moshe is taking that curse away and giving him a second chance. So in a sense, blessings here are suggesting that we're giving a person a new opportunity, a new life, a new beginning. And that's, I think, the sneeze. If you hold, as ancient tradition holds, that a piece of you and your soul goes out, then by saying God bless you, you're inviting the possibility of a renewal of life in that moment. I don't think, right, we take more seriously enough the power that we have in each other's lives to be a blessing and to offer blessings and to receive blessings with an open heart. And right, these passages are suggesting that we take that act more seriously, that we don't underestimate the power that we have in others people's lives, to elevate them, to energize them, to help them feel, right, that they can accomplish so much and do so much. That, I think, is the power of this blessing. We'll conclude the last piece. This midrash connects the image of water to the general rabbinic understanding of Avraham as someone who converted hundreds of people. How did Abraham do that? By immersing them in pools of water as part of their conversion. Thus, they link the words bracha, pool of water, and brecha. When we call God blessed, we draw on an image in which God cleanses and purifies. Specifically, this cleansing leads to a reset of our behavior through the process of moral choice and tshuva. Blessing is not something we are meant only to experience ourselves, but it is also something we are meant to spread, like Moses and Avraham. When I recite a blessing, I think about the ways in which God is the source of my rejuvenation, which ultimately is connected to my improved behavior. I also think about striving to lead others to experiences of change and renewal. So, my hope for all of us is the next time we have the opportunity to say a blessing, we don't underestimate the power that we are engaging in that act for another human being. That we are drawing from ourselves all of the source of energy that exists in this universe, all the godliness that is in us, and extending it to another human being, saying, you matter, you count, you are elevated, you are important. So next time you bless, may you have that ability and that power and that sense of awe and wisdom for another human being.
Beautiful.
Shabbat Shalom to all of you, and
Shabbat
Chag
Shalom.
Sameach to all of you.
Chag Sameach.
And hopefully we will see you at Shmini Atzeret on Shabbat at both campuses, Simchat Torah evening at the North Campus, Simchat Torah morning at the South Campus, and Friday evening Shabbat services on the North Campus.
That's a lot of information.
Yeah, I have a roadmap.
I have a question for you. Can you stay on a
Yeah,
minute?
I can stay on.
Okay.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a good rest of your
Shalom.
week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You know, it's interesting.
Yes, Judy.
I have a question too about your class starting. You're gonna send this information starting Tuesday,
My
did.
Melton class.
your Melton class.
You did.
I didn't get the information.
Awesome.
I sent it to everybody who was on the list. But let me, I don't know what happened. Hold on a second.
I'm on the list.
Not happy about the ebook.
Yeah, that's nothing to do with me.
It's an ebook.
Yes,
Um,
and I like writing in the book.
Lauren, are you Lauren Ray 716 at Gmail?
That's me.
Okay, it was sent to you. It was sent to you on Monday the 2nd
From you.
from me.
I don't know. Maybe it went into my other file like that. I'll look for it. Okay. So Tuesday, it's in person at the South Campus.
Do you want me to send you the email again?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay.
Sure,
Cool.
why not? Apparently
Lauren,
she let too many people in your class.
say that again.
She let 30 people in the class. I heard.
I think there's more than 30 people.
Okay. All right.
I guess what we could have said is anybody who studied with me can't study again, so we can let new people in.
But you have groupies who want to keep studying.
So if you have all these new people and all of these groupies, how do you do it?
Okay. I'll see you sometime. All right.
All right, Lauren, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
I sent you a text a while ago asking if you wanted Gil's gravel bike.
Yeah, so thank you. And I have not also responded to Gil, but tell Gil that I've been doing his exercises and pushing, underneath my knee, following exactly what he says. And I made an announcement at the men's club, Sukkah, about getting additional riders, and 6 people said they would consider signing up to ride.
I got
Good.
2 additional team members. I came in my email. Well, one's Linda, Alex's wife, and then let's see, somebody else signed up.
There was, I'll tell you who it was.
Wow.
It was the Druckers, Ann, and I forgot Ann's husband's name, Drucker, and Lynn and Joel Goldberg. And then the last 2 people were Nancy and Roger Ohana.
None of them.
Oh, good. So you got more. Gil got more too.
Well, hopefully they'll all sign up.
And Seth reached out to me when I was going to reach out to him about putting it in the e-news, which he has.
Thank you for doing that, because I keep forgetting. I keep meaning to do it, and then I keep forgetting.
No, it was in this last week.
So back to the gravel bike. So my initial reaction was, oh, I would love a gravel bike. And then I stepped back and I said, wait a minute. I already have 2 bikes. Do I really need a 3rd bike?
You've had 5.
What?
You've had 5.
I know. Do I want, an additional thing in my life? I said, oh my God, that is such a generous offer. And I want to say yes. And I said, but wait a minute, I have to figure out how to. So I was riding with my friend Daniel, and I was mentioning that, unfortunately, my friend Gil won't be riding again, and he has this bike. And Daniel says, well, if it's available, I would buy the bike from him, because he has a bike that he says is too much for him, that he doesn't need. And he would happily purchase the gravel bike from
You
you.
can have it. He can have it. I just want them out. And I can't do any more of these surprises with Gil.
Gil, how does that feel, that no riding?
I'm fine with it, although no, I'm fine with it. I might get a recumbent bike, because if you have a seizure and
Judy, that makes sense, right? And a recumbent bike can't fall off.
I'll strap him on.
Judy, if you take away, which I totally understand, right? You love him dearly and you do not want to lose him. But if you take away one important source of his well-being in this world, then you lose him in a different way.
He's the one who said he was getting rid of the bikes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
he said that in the moment, but then if he just said, okay, but maybe I'll get a recumbent bike, then his mind is saying one thing and his heart is saying something else.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, it was hard for me then to let him walk by himself. I mean, let him, obviously he can do what he wants. It was hard for me to let go of that.
What about, Gil, do you have one of those watches that announces if you fall?
Oh yeah. In fact, I hit a crack on DeSoto and fell,
remember, right?
and it texted Jude and Rachel and called the paramedics.
There you go. Then, Judy, that's the compromise. Gil is not going to be the kind of person that's going to be locked up in the house. That's not the way he's operated for the last decades. And you can't expect Gil to operate in the same way going forward and be the same Gil that you love. So there has to be a willingness to find ways to do what he does safely with some risk, but minimize risk.
I'm letting go, but it was very shocking for a while. It was really
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
So can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
You cut the recording at the end, right?
Oh my God. Okay. You know what? Shoot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna, before I do this, yeah, let me